And now all of you actually are my nieces and nephews, you know, so I have much love for you. And of course, my prayers is with you because right now we're at a state of emergency. And when I say we're at a state of emergency, you have to really hear what I'm saying because it is your lives that are really being taken in these streets. And it is you who actually can become the leaders of changing the condition of the society so that your babies, listen to what I'm saying, so that your babies can go outside and play, so that your babies can go to school without being worried about being killed by the police or maybe somebody that might look just like them. It is your babies that you hope that one day will be able to grow up and be young men and women like yourselves, be able to graduate from high school and go to college, because it is your responsibility to ensure that they have a future. Mm-hmm. You hear what I'm saying? And it really is going to take you to get involved. So here's some questions. How many of you have ever been to a rally or protest? Oh, good. Almost quite half the class. For those who have not, it is a requirement that in order for you to understand the condition of this society, that you get involved. Because if you fail to get involved,
come to your door.
You really just condoning the way the conditions are. How many of you know someone that's been murdered by the police? How many of you know someone that's been murdered by just someone in the neighborhood? More hands goes up. How many of you heard of Trayvon Martin, as the question was asked? Oscar Grant. How many of you know about Alan Bluford? Okay, so we see one, maybe two hands. Alan Bluford was a young man that went to Skyline High School as a senior. He was just recently murdered May 6th. It's been a major outcry. There's been community involvement in seeking to get justice for Alan Bluford. You have a question, young man?
He got shot at the street from
So, you witnessed it. And I'm saying all this to say, and the reason why he's seen that, because it was across the street in front of his house, and so he's come to knowledge of it. But it's real important, listen to this, that you know about the young man that was killed around the corner from you. That you know about the young man that was killed across the street from you. Because if you fail to know about the people that's dying in your own community, you know what you're really missing? What's really happening in this world. So you as young men and women in school, right, here to get a high school degree so that you can go on to college, right, has to become community involved. Yes, sir.
Could you elaborate for students who don't know who Alan Bluford was murdered by?
Yes. So, Alan Bluford, again, is a young man who was a senior at Skyline High School, very good student, was recently murdered by the Oakland Police Department. All because, and I'm going to ask this question, but I'm just going to shout this out, and then I'm going to ask the question because I hope you know. So Oscar Grant, you know, was murdered. Trayvon Martin, you know, was murdered. And others that you know were murdered by the police. What was one of the main reasons why they were murdered? Yes, sir.
They always black.
That's a good answer. Yes. That's a good answer. I saw another hand. All that comes from someone having the idea to racially profile these young men. Some of the questions that you're being asked. Like this young sister said, she was at the BART station. The BART police officer stops her, begins to ask her questions about what she's doing. I mean, we're being consistently racially profiled. Why? One, wearing a black hoodie. Two, I got a skull cap on. Three, you know what I'm saying? I'm just black and brown. Four, we could go on and on and on. Is it legal?
No.
No. But is it happening? Yes. Now, what is it that you can do to bring about a change to stop this? And that is, when the world sees that you stand up and say, we're tired of our friends being racially profiled. I'm tired of being racially profiled. I am tired, and I want to be able to go outside and play and walk these streets without being worried about being stopped, detained, and next thing you know, arrested, and maybe even killed in jail. Like those young men in New York City where they have stop and frisk on a consistent basis. Well, it's trickling all across the United States. So that's why many of us are not only being incarcerated, but are dying. And here's some real numbers for you to think about. This society knows your aptitude when you was in the 3rd or 4th grade. They based that on how many prison systems and beds to build for you. There's right now a pipeline to prison for most of you in this classroom. You know, and this is what you have to pay attention to. In the last 20 years, 22 prisons. I'm talking about only in the state of California. This is your community. This is your home. This is your state. Listen to this. In the last 20 years, 22 prisons have been built and only 2 educational systems. What happened? Why are we concentrating on building all these prisons and less educational institutions? Prison institutions has become big business.
That's right.
And in order for them to make money, people like you got to be locked up for things that you didn't even do that was wrong. Alan Bluford was murdered by an Oakland police officer because he looked suspicious. He got spooked and he ran, and as you know, he was shot and killed. The family's been crying ever since. My sister's crying ever since. There's nothing worse than a teary-eyed mother. And I'm going to speak to the young men in this class because you will one day have the rites of passage, which is manhood. But right now, your mom will look at you as young men, and I'm sure she's building within you some esteem to become responsible young men. Young men, it is our responsibility to stand up and represent our families. It is our responsibility to become the protectors of our families, because as you know, as you mature, you become responsible to them. It is our responsibility, young men, to become the maintainers of our community. So that means we cannot sit at home, be quiet, and play games and think that it's all going to go away. Your babies, and I'm sure all of you may be thinking one day you may have some children, but your babies, if you think you got it bad now, what will they have like? I mean, do any of you think that their lives are going to be better than yours if we don't change the conditions of this society now? If someone do, I'd like to hear why. Do we have it bad in our society right now? Yes. Okay. Here's some numbers. The Malcolm X Grassroots report came out with a report in July sharing with us that in the first 6 months of this year, 120 young black men, just only black men, have been killed, which means every 36 hours, one of us black men going to die in the streets out here at the hands of a police officer, a wannabe police officer, or some security guard. They didn't even take into the equation the brown men. Because if we take that into the equation, that number is cut in half, if not to 1/3. That means probably every 8 hours, or maybe every 9 hours, a young black or brown man will die in these streets at the hands of a police officer or a security guard or a wannabe police officer. Trayvon Martin is an example. Whoa, there's a whole lot I can say. You know, I know we're short on time. I'm going to go ahead and cut it short. I've got 2 minutes? Okay. So, then I want to look at this because I want to make sure I got some points out. You know, when it's short like this, I want to really try to say a whole lot, but I can't. Oh, this is real important. From the family, we want to thank all of you. Though you may not have been here, but you are in the footsteps of many that have supported the Oscar Grant family. We came to this school, we spoke to you, and you all responded tremendously. And I mean, that was power. That's part of being active in the movement. When you're giving these whistles coming up one day, and we say blow the whistle on the police when you see something wrong, blow that whistle because that puts you mentally in the movement. But we came in asking for, what was it called?
Letters.
We asked for letters to go to the judge about how you felt about Johannes Mesley, who killed Oscar. And we eventually got 8,000 cards just out of the school district and the city of Oakland. Many of you, when we came here, responded tremendously. So we want to thank you from our hearts. My sister sends her love. And of course, Oscar says thank you because it was the first time. Now, this is real important. Maybe you don't know how long California has been in existence, but it's been in existence 400 and some odd years. However, it was the first time in California state history that an officer was ever charged, arrested, and convicted. You hear what I'm saying? First time in California state history. That is significant because every murder by police before Oscar and all the murders that has happened after him up to today, not a police officer has been charged.
Justifiable.
Why?
Justifiable.
They consider every shooting justifiable. Mm-hmm. So it becomes our responsibility, your responsibility, more importantly, your responsibility, because we're talking about building a society where your children can go out and live and enjoy life and have some aspirations and hope like you do. If you fail, because we're doing our job, we're relaying the information to you, and it's a requirement that you rise up, you hear it, and you become involved, because it is your responsibility to ensure that they have a future. If you fail in your responsibility to save your children's lives, we all fail. So I don't want to go to my grave not trying to plant a seed of hope in your life so that you in turn can also plant a seed in others' lives and about bringing about the change so that your babies, and I keep emphasizing your babies because it's so important that you get involved. And one last thing, this book here, please read. You're in school.
Read that in this class.
You have?
Yes, we're going to this year.
Good. Good. Much information in here.
Pay attention.
One more last stat. In 1980, there was 150 black and brown, 150,000 black men specifically that was locked up in prison. 700,000 was in colleges across the United States. That number has totally reversed. We have the biggest prison institution in the world. I'm talking about in the world. The United States is not the biggest country in the world, but we have the biggest prison institution in the world, 2.4 million men locked up. Over 80% is black and brown men, meaning over 1 million. Okay, and then in colleges, the number from 750,000 has dropped down to like 150,000. So that's telling us that you young black and brown men, what chances do you have to even get in college? Really, your rite of passage is to prison. That's your destiny.
If they have their way.
You know, so anyway, I hope I planted a seed. I hope I've inspired you. And please come out on October 22nd, because that can be the beginning of you being a revolutionary and changing this system. Thank you.